Welcome to the New Lead Order podcast. I'm Marjorie Bostwick Phoenix. I'm a leadership evolution architect for corporate and entrepreneurial women in that threshold moment of their life. These are women who are ready to break the rules and lead, live, and love outside of the box. In this space, we explore through conversation with powerhouse women how they are paving the way into this new world order that is upon us. This is the New Lead Order. Today, I want to talk to a specific woman. You'll know who you are. You're the one who walks into rooms and immediately sees the gaps that everyone else is missing. You're the one people call when they need to think clearer, move smarter, or can sense into the future in a way that is the reason for the next move. You're not struggling, not in the way the world defines struggle, but you're carrying something of weight. And although you can't fully articulate it yet, you know that it's necessary. It's the weight of vision without witnesses. It's the exhaustion of being the seer, which really means the most forward thinking person in almost every space you enter. It's also the quiet loneliness of operating at a level that most people around you can't quite see yet, even those that work closely with you. You've survived things that should have broken you. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, you realize that the systems and institutions you were taught to trust are now failing you. The path that you were told to take, the education, the credentials, all of this was supposed to lead to stability. Yet you're realizing they weren't actually built for you. They were built for someone else. And you've been retrofitting yourself to fit inside of them for a long time. You've been shape shifting for every job, role, relationship, and circumstances. For survival, sure. For acceptance, yeah. For love, yep. One or all of those can be true. Either way, this episode is for you. So now that you've heard this, I really need you to stay with me today because what I'm about to say is going to plant something in you, and I don't want you to miss it or rush past it. We're living in a moment of history that we will look back on as a turning point, not because of any one election or because of any one technology, but because the institutions we built our lives around are becoming visibly, undeniably unreliable. And what happens when institutions become unreliable? Well, most people do one of two things. They either panic and try to hold on tighter to what's broken, or they wait for someone to fix it. They wait for the hero, or they wait for the system to correct itself. They wait for permission to do something different. They wait to be chosen for this moment. That's the bride archetype. The bride archetype isn't about marriage, it's about a woman conditioned to belong to someone else's story, choosing survival over freedom. But there is a third option, something that has never been experienced before, something that is emerging in silent thoughts, something that must be sensed, imagined, and defined. And this is where you come in. There are women, there have always been women, who look at an unreliable system And instead of waiting for it to be repaired, they build something parallel to it, something that operates by different rules, something that produces what the broken system promised but never delivered. And this is not just about income or wealth. It's not just about access and ownership. It's about sustainability and belonging and community, real wealth. These women are not waiting for a seat at the table that was never designed for them. They're willing to break the rules and build a different table entirely. And here's what I've spent years studying, living, and now researching and teaching. These women are not anomalies. They're indicators, like a signal, and they're showing the rest of the world what's possible. I call them prototype women. They're reimagining systems and institutions. They're redesigning structures and communities. They're redefining leadership and relationships. They are architecting something new before the world even has language for it. So if you're still listening right now, there's a good chance you're one of them. So I want to be transparent in this moment with you so you can understand where I'm coming from. My life has been a series of breakdowns and breakthroughs. I've had more than one dark night of the soul, if you want to call it that. And I know what it means to lose everything, like homelessness, everything, and what it means to build it back. And just as recently as 2024, after I lost my job, I ended up having to leave my beautiful apartment and city that I loved and move in with my adult daughter. Now imagine a woman in her 50s, advanced degrees, has published a book, poems, award-winning speaker, produced plays and documentaries, and even played Sojourner Truth in a play. I'm brilliant, driven, ambitious on every account. Yet I find myself starting over again at a time in my life where I should be resting and reigning. I'd done everything right, everything the playbook said. I had the education, I had the experience, I had the drive. I'd worked hard in ways that most people will never imagine, but none of it protected me. But what I realize now is that wasn't a failure in my life. That moment was data. It was data about how I was trying to move through that moment based on what the system had taught me. It was data about what was processing in my subconscious mind that was keeping me looping. It was data about when a system is built on certain assumption meets a woman whose life doesn't fit those assumptions. It was data about where the cracks in the foundation actually are. And it's a data about what we're not seeing. I wasn't failing. I was prototyping. I was living in the gap between what the existing system could hold and what was needed to emerge next. That liminal space. And I know many of you are in that space as well. But out of that gap, I started building. I built a framework for helping women recognize the patterns that had been where they'd been operating from, the survival patterns that were built for this world that kept us small, caged, that kept us dependent on the very system that we were trying to break away from. And I started working through this and I asked myself, what would it look like for women to prototype together? What would they build together? What would become possible that isn't possible alone? And let me tell you what I believe the answer to that question looks like. And I want you to think about something with me for a moment. What happens when women who are operating at the highest level of vision and impact, women who are building businesses and movements and communities and careers that are changing the fabric of society? What happens when those women start operating in isolation, stop operating in isolation and start operating as a coordinated unit? Not as a networking group, not as a conference or a mastermind where everyone performs for the other. No, a real cooperative, a real accountability, real mutual aid, right? Real shared infrastructure, real commitment to the philosophy that I don't shine if you don't shine. When I move forward, you move forward with me. Becomes possible. I'll tell you what I believe becomes possible. A couple of things here. Policy changes can happen, right? Because these women have the proximity to power and the clarity of a lived experience to name exactly what needs to change and why. Economic ecosystems, because when women with resources and networks and visions commit to each other's success, they create markets and opportunities and wealth that didn't exist before. Cultural repair, because the stories these women carry, the ones that they've been told weren't important enough, those stories become the medicine. They become the catalyst that reshape how the next generation understands what's possible. I'm not telling you all of this just to inspire you. I'm planting a seed. The world doesn't need more women trying to fit into systems that were never built for them. And it certainly doesn't need more resilient women. It needs more free women, liberated women. The world needs more women building the systems that should have existed a long time ago. And those women need each other. So I'm going to leave you with one question today, and I don't want you to answer it quickly. I want you to sit with it. And I want you to notice what comes up when you really let yourself go there. What would you build? What would you fully build and create if you were in a room where everyone else was building at your level, where no one needed you to make yourself smaller so that they can feel comfortable? There was no competition, where your vision, the vision that you are holding, it isn't just for you or just about you. Sit with that. Because this podcast exists to explore these types of inquiries. Each solo episode, I'm prototyping with you, and I'll tell you this: something is coming. I'm sensing it. There's no name for it, but I want you to stay close. Subscribe, follow, engage, because I can't do this alone. I don't want to do it alone. This is Marjorie Bostwick Phoenix, and I'll see you next time on Lead Order.